Meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan here. We just want to update you on a tornado warning that has just been issued for Tolland and Windham counties. To be perfectly honest, I think the tornado threat with this storm is low, but the Weather Service disagrees. And so we're going to treat this like a very serious situation because it is. Let's go to live first alert Doppler radar on MAC-C. And there you can see there's the tornado warning here for Tolland and Windham counties. I think the biggest threat with this is hail in Tolland and Willington. But there is some personal opinion on this right now is that this is some bad data that's coming into live first alert Doppler radar, which happens occasionally, but still there is this signature here that indicates there is some rotation up at cloud level, and that would indicate to me there is the potential for a tornado, but that potential is quite low. So again, tornado warning in effect for Tolland and Windham counties. This is in Tolland and Willington right now. I think the bigger threat with this storm is going to be hail, possibly to the size of quarters. But again, we've got a tornado warning now for Tolland and Windham counties. That tornado warning is for Willington, for Tolland, and then up into portions of Stafford and Union. If you were to look at this weather setup, you would not say it is one that favors tornadoes, but no doubt there is a somewhat concerning signature showing up on live first alert Doppler radar, and let's time that out for you. 235 in South Willington, 237 in Willington, and 248 in Union. I think the bigger threat for sure is hail. I think the threat for a tornado is quite low. And sometimes where you see, we'll zoom in a little bit closer here, this is just north of Storrs on 195. And so this is the area I'm looking at here, where there is some rotation up at cloud level near Route 32 on Forest Road, Hunting Lodge Road, Discovery Drive, and Sizer Road in Mansfield on 195, heading up just to the south of 84 near Tolland. This is the area that we're looking at right now, where there is the potential for a pretty nasty-looking storm. Again, hail is the biggest threat. I would not be surprised to see quarter-sized hail falling right now along I-84 from Tolland into Willington, and then along 74 from Willington over toward Ashford. And this tornado warning, it's a small one, doesn't take up a whole lot of real estate, but from Tolland and Willington north to Stafford and up into Union, there is a tornado warning in effect. So again, this is the velocity image which had the Weather Service concerned. That did show a bit of rotation here. Sometimes we can get data that comes in. Sometimes the radar has trouble resolving storms like this. And, well, we're going to go with what the Weather Service is saying here. But I think the odds of a tornado are extremely low. That's the area we'd be concerned with just to the north of Mansfield, near the Tolland line, heading to the north up toward Willington right now. And let's take a closer look here. Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't see much rotation at all with this. I think the bigger threat is hail to the north of I-84. So I would say there is a minuscule tornado risk with this storm as it moves past I-84, with a bigger threat for a lot of lightning and some hail coming up through Turnpike Road, Schoenfield Road, Village Hill Road. Basically, what we're seeing is up at cloud level, probably 6, 7, 8,000 feet above our heads. The storm is spinning around. But beneath that, there's a really, really decent stable layer. And that layer of stability near the ground should prevent any rotation from reaching the surface. So, yeah, there's the potential for some gusty winds. I think hail is the bigger risk with a lot of really, really heavy rain with this storm, just crossing 84 right now and heading off to the north and to the northeast. So again, tornado warning in effect for Tolland County and parts of Windham County with this storm. I'll put it into motion. You can see it moving to the north pretty rapidly. Hail is the biggest threat with this storm. I think there is an exceptionally low tornado risk, but not a zero tornado risk. And that is the track of the storm. Let me throw some towns on here for you so you can see exactly what we're looking at. From Stafford over toward Willington right now, that's where you've got the worst of the hail at this moment, right along Route 190, right along I-84, Lowe's Road, Spack Road, Village Hill Road, Old River Road, Village Hill Road, and then coming up to the north. Into Stafford and Union. If you are in this area, the best thing you can do is to be inside until the storm passes. A basement is not a bad idea, but again, Let's switch this back over to velocity mode. Yeah, I don't see a whole lot. I mean, over Willington right now, there's some rotation, but I think what we're looking at here, more than actual rotation, is actually something that we call a side lobe contamination. So this rotation is all to the south of where the actual radar returns are. So the rotation is over Willington, but all the radar echoes are farther to the north over I-84. So what we're likely seeing is a rotation that's pretty high up in the clouds, probably 10 or 12,000 feet above our heads. So it's spinning around for the birds, but down near the ground, it's just going to be tough to get much to the surface. But again, there is the potential for some decent-sized hail here. Just a few minutes ago, it looked to me that we had the potential for hail maybe to the size of quarters, at least dimes, but quarter-sized hail over Willington was certainly a possibility. And the storm, again, is lifting to the north. And it is moving through Willington into Stafford and Union. Should be out of Connecticut shortly. It's not going to spend a whole lot of time here in the state. It's going to be up toward the Massachusetts border pretty quickly. And back farther off to the west, we've got a number of storms, one moving through Hartford County, one moving down through Litchfield County and Fairfield County, heading into New Haven as well. We'll put this into motion for you. You can see we've got a pretty good line of thunderstorms moving to the east. But across the entire state, we've got this really, really thick stable layer near the ground, which should really mitigate the severe weather threat today. But this storm in Tolland County definitely did have some rotation briefly. I can actually back this up a little bit for you so you can see how it looked just a bit ago. And you can see, yeah, there certainly was some rotation here not too long ago in Coventry as the storm was moving to the north. And there was that rotation over Route 32. And that rotation has now lifted off to the north and to the northeast through Willington, and now is heading up into Union and Stafford. And again, the potential is here for a very weak tornado. I think the bigger threat is going to be heavy rain, lightning, and some small hail, maybe to the size of quarters. And there's that storm right over 84. Here's a live first alert Doppler update for you. Just to the north of I-84, that's where you do have the rotation. We'll take a closer look on Route 190 over towards South Road in portions of Union and Stafford now. That's where the heaviest of the rain is with hail as well. Packard Ridge, Rockwell Road, Fenton Road, Collette Road East, Crooked South Road, RFD Road, Bradway Road in portions of Stafford, looking at that hail core that's moving on through. And the hail could be, again, to the size of dimes. It wouldn't surprise me if we had dime or quarter-sized hail with a storm that's moving on through. We did get a report from the Willington Fire Department. They said quarter to nickel-sized hail there. And that's exactly what we were expecting as we saw this storm moving through. We tweeted out just before the tornado warning was issued that, yeah, there certainly could be some hail to the size of quarters, and that's what we had reported from the Willington Fire Department. But the good news is no damage there in Willington from the storm as it moved through. So you had the hail, you had the ice chunks coming down, but no damage reported there. So again, live first alert Doppler radar. At this point, I'm not seeing any rotation, maybe some very, very weak rotation moving on through. But it certainly has weakened, and even what we saw before, I think it was probably more an artifact of the radar than an actual pure rotational signature. But there certainly was, this point back here, so this is, I've brought the radar back to about 13 minutes ago in Coventry. There certainly was at least a little bit of rotation that was over Coventry, moving to the north along Route 32, and that is now almost to the Massachusetts border. It's moving to the north and to the northeast pretty quickly, about 50, 55 miles per hour. So I'll switch this back over to reflectivity, and this is what we typically show you on live first alert Doppler radar, where you see the pinks and the maroon shading along Route 190 in portions of Union and also Stafford. That's where you've got some real heavy rain for sure, but you also have hail probably to the size of dimes, maybe even quarters moving through. We're probably about 5 minutes or so from the Massachusetts border, so we don't have a whole lot longer to go with this storm before it heads up into Hampden County, Massachusetts. And farther back off to the south and to the west, I see some more heavy rain and even some small hail moving through portions of Hartford County as well, back through Litchfield County, and then again, this line of thunderstorms approaching the New Haven area as well. Pretty nasty line of storms, but again, what we're seeing with them is that, you know, up 5, 6, 7,000 feet above our heads, they're pretty impressive. They're producing a lot of strong winds, up high in the atmosphere. A lot of ice is being produced, a lot of hail. But to get that down to the ground, to get the winds down to the ground, there's a really, really thick and strong stable layer that's protecting us right near the surface. You can sort of think of it as a shield that's sort of overhead right now in the lowest few thousand feet of the atmosphere. So the ice and the hail will certainly make it through that, the heavy rain and the lightning as well. But to get a tornado, it's going to be tough to do. Still, there was certainly some rotation in the clouds, and so you have to respect that. And if you are in Stafford and Union, I need you to remain indoors until the storm passes. The best place to be in a storm like this is going to be a small interior room or a basement away from windows as the storm moves in and coming up from the south. It is heading up toward the Massachusetts border now. There's that storm again, moving through Stafford and Union, heading up into Brimfield in Massachusetts shortly. But certainly, yeah, a lot of heavy rain, a lot of hail. We got that report of quarter-sized hail coming through Willington from the fire department just a little bit ago. But again, no damage reported there. I'm going to switch this back over to velocity mode here because this is what the Weather Service was using when they issued that tornado warning. And the tornado warning remains in effect until 3 o'clock this afternoon. If there was a little bit of rotation, there's some very weak rotation right here along I-84. Right near just past exit 70 in Willington, heading up toward the Massachusetts border. But this is, again, very weak, not terribly concerning here. I think hail is going to be your bigger threat with the storm. A lot of lightning and some heavy rain as well. And let's take one more look. I want to switch this back over here and zoom in a little bit closer, show you some of the areas that are getting that hail. It looks like we're coming into a pretty rural area along the Union and Stafford line here. But off Bradway Road, New City Road, Torrey Road, North Road, Old Brown Road, you've got some heavy rain and some hail, dime-sized to quarter-sized hail moving through. And this, there you go, there's that live radar update for you. Right along the Union and Stafford line, that's where the hail's moving in. So I-84 right now looks like you're pretty much in the clear south of I-84, anywhere in Union down through Ashford and Eastford. Back through Willington, the storm is gone. So the tornado warning is for this storm far to the north, right along the Massachusetts border, Route 19 in Stafford, over toward New City Road as well. You've got that heavy rain and hail and some lightning. We've seen a lot of lightning. These storms have been pretty prolific lightning producers. And as we widen out the perspective, you can see there's that storm way out ahead of the main line, and then the rest of the state looking at whether that's a little bit more tranquil, that's for sure. But the line of storms coming into New Haven is going to produce some heavy rain for sure and some hail as well as it approaches New Haven and the Naugatuck Valley. We had some hail reports coming in earlier from Beacon Falls and Shelton up through Naugatuck and Waterbury. Probably a bit more hail moving through as well. So we've got this tornado warning. It goes until 3 o'clock. The storm should be gone probably before that, probably by, let's say, 10 of 3. The storm's going to be up into Massachusetts. But there you can see there's that tornado warning. And we'll switch this over to velocity mode. I don't see any rotation here on velocity mode that concerns me at the moment, which is good. That's certainly something we don't want to see. Let's see if we've got an update here from the Weather Service. We do not. But just looking at radar, I still see some signs here that we are probably looking at some decent-sized hail that's moving through portions of Union and also into portions of Stafford, right along the Massachusetts border. That's where you've got that hail that's moving in. And the hail is definitely the biggest threat with this storm. So hail to the size of dimes and quarters. And as we take a closer look here, you can see we have seen a decent bit of lightning as well. I think there's probably going to be some more hail that's going to develop with this line of thunderstorms moving through Ansonia and through the Naugatuck Valley down toward Milford and also heading into the New Haven area. We've got a pretty nasty line of thunderstorms moving in from the west. So that's over Orange right now, over the Wilbur-Cross Parkway, heading through West Haven into New Haven. I think the threat with this is going to be maybe some gusty winds, but I think really it's going to be some small hail and some blinding downpours, which will make at least the early portion of the evening commute pretty tough. And there you can see there's that storm that prompted the tornado warning in portions of Stafford and Union, just about to head up into Massachusetts. The tornado warning is going to be canceled shortly here as the storm moves in. But we did have the reports as the storm approached of hail to the size of quarters in Wellington, and I imagine there was some hail to that size in portions of Coventry as well, now moving through Stafford and up toward Union. And there's a live update for you. The hail core is right along the Mass border now, Beffa Road, Sears Road, Stickney Hill Road, Skopek Road. The tornado threat has diminished. I think the tornado threat from the beginning was quite low, and it remains very low now. Here's a closer look for you on the velocity mode, and give it about 5 seconds, and we're going to get an update here. And you'll see there's not a substantial area of rotation at all right now. For sure, we did get a report from UConn. They alerted their students that there was a tornado warning. Told students to stay inside, stay where you are, avoid windows and doors. If you do have a student at UConn right now and you're concerned about them, the good news is that this storm is far from UConn. So UConn was in the tornado warning. There's stores. There's UConn. There's the campus. There's Horse Barn Hill Road. Eagleville Road is right here. So UConn technically was in the tornado warning, but the storm is well to the north, up toward Union right now. And we've got some video from Wellington that came in just a few moments ago. Let's take a look at that, and you can see some of that hail. We got a report from the fire department in Wellington of hail to the size of quarters, and you can hear that hail coming down. That's some pretty good hail. Thanks for Jess for sending in that video. Whenever you hear that hail landing on your windshield or the roof of your car, it can be a little unsettling. But normally you need hail to about the size of a golf ball to start causing damage to a car, and we did not have that. We were just shy of that, thankfully. So quarter-sized hail is certainly a novelty. We don't get it terribly often in Connecticut, certainly not as often as you do farther to the west in the plains in the Midwest, but it pales in comparison to what we saw last May 15th. So tornado warning continues. Let's head back over to live First Alert Doppler radar for portions of Tolland and a small sliver in Windham County. But the storm is just about gone. The storm was certainly rotating up at cloud level, pretty high above our heads. But there's no indication to me that this tornado touched down. Thankfully, that is very good news. The atmosphere today doesn't really support tornado development. There's a lot of, I guess you could call them mitigating circumstances, and the Weather Service actually has continued that tornado warning farther to the north, up into portions of Hampden County, Massachusetts, looks like a sliver of Hampshire County, and up into Worcester County, Mass as well, from this storm that's just about to leave Connecticut. So we're at 10 of 3 now. The tornado warning goes for another 10 minutes here in the state, and again, we're watching the potential as the storm moves to the north for some quarter-sized hail right along the Mass border, but the tornado threat here in Connecticut is quite low. There's very weak, very minimal rotation. Normally, when you have a storm that you start to get worried about for tornado purposes, you want to see winds of about 30 miles per hour in each direction here, and we're just shy of that. And we also have, as I mentioned before, that stable layer near the surface, which should mitigate any tornado threat here. The storm, again, moving to the north and to the northeast, up into Massachusetts right now, farther off to the south and west. No warnings in effect, but certainly some hail moving through Windsor and Enfield. A lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, a lot of heavy rain. And then down through portions of New Haven County, the valley's getting hit again by another thunderstorm here. We had one that produced some dime-sized hail in Bethany, Beacon Falls, up into Naugatuck and Waterbury, down through Shelton. And this line of thunderstorms moving through pretty quickly. I just got a report from our friends at the Weather Service. Andy Nash at the Weather Service saying that they're keeping the warning going up into Massachusetts. Radar signatures have weakened. There is some question as to whether that surface stable layer is keeping the tornado from reaching the ground, the circulation reaching the ground. And if you were watching us here, that's the first thing I mentioned when we got that tornado warning is that, we've got this stable layer. It's almost acting like sort of a protective blanket right over the state. So up at cloud level, these storms are spinning around, which is what I actually expected we'd see today. I thought we'd see these storms spinning around, but spinning up at 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 feet, where they can't do any damage. Our trees aren't that tall, thankfully. And so as the storm spins around, moving into Massachusetts right now, the odds of it getting down to the ground, I think, are pretty low. But still, tornado warning remains in effect for another few minutes. moving through portions of Talland County up into Massachusetts right now, Holland, Brimfield, Wales, and just to the east of Munson. This is an area, obviously, the scars of the June 1st, 2011 tornado, fresh in the minds of people who live in Munson and Brimfield. This storm will not be anything like that. Some hail moving on through, heading up toward the Mass Pike shortly. But the tornado threat here in Connecticut coming to an end seems very low in the first place, but the tornado warning will be allowed to expire shortly. Across the rest of the state, we've got a couple lines of storms moving on through, and I think we're actually going to get this one line of storms to move in, and then we'll probably get another break before some more storms this evening. There could be some small hail from some of these storms that move on in. You can see moving through Waterbury right now, we've got a pretty good line of storms down through Naugatuck, but lightning, heavy rain, and some small hail is a possibility. We did have some hail that came through West Hartford just a little bit ago as well. Let's take a closer look at some video. This is from Hannah. Hannah's not napping yet, I guess, from her morning shift. You can see some of the hail coming down in West Hartford where she was. A little bit of a breeze, but what's important to note is since we have this little stable layer near the ground, it allows the hail to come through. I mean, hail's just falling because of gravity. Think of Newton with an apple falling on his head under the tree. Gravity's taking those hailstones that are being produced 10, 20,000 feet above our heads, and it drops them right to the ground. To get a tornado, though, you need instability near the ground. We just don't have that today. It's cold today. It's 51 degrees right now in West Hartford. And so when you have temperatures like that, you've got a little band of stable air near the surface, which should prevent any tornado development here. So again, even though we have that tornado warning, I think the tornado risk here in Connecticut is just about negligible as we go through the day today and into the night tonight. The tornado warning is for another 5 minutes, but the storm is now out of Connecticut. The storm is up into Massachusetts, heading up toward the Mass Pike. It's heading toward Brimfield. Some hail threat with that storm. But again, the Talland County and Windham County still under that tornado warning for another 5 minutes. But the storm has now departed Connecticut. It's up into portions of Hampden County, Massachusetts. We still have some heavy rain and some lightning. Let's take a look at that lightning because there was quite a bit of it with these storms as they moved in. You probably heard some real loud bangs of thunder. And something actually with a storm like this, we'll put on some of the lightning. You can see in the last 15 minutes, each one of these little white lightning icons indicates where there's been some cloud to ground lightning. When you get a storm like this and you have that stable layer near the ground, you can actually see the lightning and the thunder really reverberating near the ground. So you get these really long, low rolling claps of thunder, and that's what we're seeing right now. But a lot of thunder with these storms from New Haven up through Ansonia and Naugatuck and Waterbury, and then that continues up through the Farmington Valley. So the tornado warning has expired, and the tornado warning has been canceled now through Talland County, which, as we expected as the storm moves to the north, that's what we're looking at. The weather now no longer is dangerous here in Connecticut, which is good news. I'll zoom things out for you and show you what we have with this line of thunderstorms that's moving in. You can see from New Haven on north through the valley, we've got some pretty good downpours moving on through. And actually, if we can take a live look outside in New Haven, we can show you that storm coming in because we've got two thunderstorms now just to the west, one moving through the Naugatuck Valley from Waterbury down to New Haven, and you can see a whole lot of rain there in New Haven. But look at the flag. You can see the breeze is not all that impressive. The wind actually died down as the storm moved in. Earlier, we had gusts up to about 40 miles per hour out into New London, but the wind has certainly come down quite a bit in New Haven now. And let's take a live look outside in Waterbury. And you can see a similar story, lots of heavy rain coming down in Waterbury now. But the wind, if we look on the green there, you can see the flag barely blowing. So it sort of indicates that these storms are all elevated at the moment, and it's hard to get this wind down to the ground, which is good. Hartford, similar story. We're talking about a lot of wind, a lot of rain, excuse me. And we had some hail that moved in earlier. But look at the wind direction in Hartford. If you look toward the Founders Bridge, look at the flags. They're blowing down the Connecticut River. The wind is out of the north. Temperature in Hartford in the low 50s. We've got a northerly wind. That is a stable air mass. And so, yes, up at cloud level, it's unstable. The clouds are doing some funky things. The clouds are spinning around. They're really up to no good. But the good news is near the ground, we've got a few thousand feet from about think of you standing on the ground up to about 5,000 feet, about a mile above your heads. You've got this band of really, really stable air, and that is going to prevent some of these shenanigans up at cloud level from reaching the ground. So that's why there's no reports of any damage with these storms coming on through, which is good news. We did have the hail. And that hail is moving up toward the Mass Pike right now, farther off to the south and to the west, moving through Waterbury. Wallingford should be getting into this storm quickly. Let me track out this storm for you if I can. This one coming just out of Wallingford and heading toward Middletown, because some areas that haven't gotten a storm yet are about to. So we'll time this out for you. As you head toward Yalesville around 3:04, Berlin at 3:12, Middletown 3:16, and then Rocky Hill and Cobalt over toward East Hampton about 20 after 3. Things are going to go downhill. These storms are moving along real quickly, about 50, some probably approaching 60 miles per hour in forward speed. And a lot of lightning coming through the Farmington Valley now as well. Let's take a look live outside if we can from the Talcott Mountain Science Center. I know you can't see much, but it just shows you we're just in the clouds. There you go. The Talcott Mountain Science Center about 1,000 feet above sea level, and it's just totally socked in at the moment with some heavy rain and some lightning. Down in Windsor Locks, same story. It's lots of clouds, a low ceiling right now. Temperature at Bradley, 52 degrees at the moment. As we take a look, and you can see, just let me look off to the north and to the east for just 1 second. I want to show you the storm that prompted that tornado warning. The reason why we're on the air right now, you can see up in Brimfield, pretty good hail signature moving on through up toward the Mass Pike. And this is the storm that is tornado warned just across the border from us. But you can see, I don't see any rotation here whatsoever. So, no rotation. Weather Service, out of abundance of caution, kept that tornado warning going. Here in Connecticut right now, the tornado threat is over. The tornado warning has expired. It's still colored in. It's going to be colored in here until 3 o'clock, and then at 3 o'clock, this coloring is all going to disappear. But there's no storm even right now in Tolland County, so nothing to worry about there. But just with any storm, take the normal thunderstorm precautions. When you've got lightning, you should be inside. Don't venture outside. If you can avoid it. And when you have heavy rain moving through, especially in some of the more densely urbanized areas, you've got the potential for some flash flooding. We'll zoom things out for you and show you, once we get through this round of thunderstorms, notice back off to the west, there's not a whole lot going on. We've got a break moving through portions of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and then another round of nasty thunderstorms near D.C. That's what we're going to be watching for later on this evening as those storms approach Connecticut. And coming up at 4 o'clock, we're going to be talking more about those thunderstorms as they move in. Again, the tornado warning here in Connecticut has expired. The weather is sub-severe right now, some heavy rain, some thunder and lightning. We will keep you posted with storms. If they threaten your neighborhood, we, of course, will keep you posted on air and online. And we'll see you for a full report starting at 4 o'clock. Now we'll send you off to Ellen.